The Beckhams can't keep their conflicts with Harry and Meghan a secret. Hello, friends. Welcome to breaking royal news about the notorious hypocritical couple, Harry and Meghan Markle, on our Royal Fantasy channel. The royal insult was severe. At Prince Harry's request, David Beckham took a 22-hour flight from London to Sydney, and he was perplexed as to why the prince had not met him. The question, where is he? As he awaited Harry, David questioned the authorities. He kept wondering, when will I meet him? The prince, however, had no intention of seeing the former England football captain or even getting their photo taken. Harry was hosting the Invictus Games in October 2018. Harry and David had social interactions and attended famous events together in the past. In a restaurant or a pub, the Ladish Prince delighted in making jokes with the most well-known footballer in the world. David had been a key player in Britain's successful bids to host the 2012 Olympics and the 2010 World Cup of Football, so it only made sense for the prince to invite David to join him at the prestigious competition for injured service members. 5 months prior, during his sunny Windsor wedding, Harry had first extended his invitation. David would never turn down such a significant request as a man who adored the royals. After traveling halfway across the world, he was baffled as to why authorities at the athletic event were keeping him happy by doing a dance away from Harry. The newlywed Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, was the cause of the gap. She didn't want David or his wife Victoria to be her rivals in the media. Meghan's first royal tour outside the United Kingdom was to Australia, and it seemed to be a big success. Meghan became persuaded that she was the next Diana of the royal family after encountering jubilant throngs of supporters. Meghan's pregnancy announcement increased the excitement. The Sussexes' Sydney offices, however, had a depressing vibe. Meghan allegedly yelled at her employees and tossed a cup of tea into the air. She and Harry were both actively looking for hostile remarks about themselves on the internet when she was accused of abusing her workers in London, a charge she has denied. It seems that she was not willing to put up with anything positive being reported in the media about the Beckhams or the games while she was in a foul mood. Harry's rejection was rarely brought up between David and Victoria at the home the Beckham family had rented in North Shore. Trying to avoid thinking about it, David. He said, a bit strange, but he did not call Harry. The Beckhams were baffled by Meghan, though. The Beckhams have been kind to her ever since she initially moved into Harry's house at Kensington Palace in 2017. She remained at the Beckhams' lavish 6-bedroom Beverly Hills home before getting married, which was kept a secret from the general public. To dodge the paparazzi was her justification. All of her requirements were met by the Beckhams' employees at no charge. The Beckhams set aside their complaint if there was any concern that Meghan was abusing her newfound power. Soon after Meghan arrived at Kensington Palace, Victoria also gave her makeup tips in an effort to strengthen their friendship. She also promoted cosmetics as part of her expanding fashion company, and a member of her staff assisted Harry's fiancée with facials and hairstyling. Within a few weeks, The Sun covered Victoria's assistance. Meghan was enraged by the media's investigation into her tumultuous history. The Beckhams have been in touch. After talking to his wife, David, who was humiliated, denied that she had disclosed any information. Meghan was still incredibly hurt, though. Victoria was stone-faced in television images of the couple entering at St. George's Chapel for the Sussexes' wedding, while David was chewing gum. The wedding feast had not extended an invitation to them. A nearly unthinkable insult given that many of the Hollywood celebs who were invited weren't pals with any of them. David agreed to Harry's desire to participate in the Invictus Games in Sydney, despite the snub. Then, a fresh grievance emerged. Victoria agreed to provide Meghan with complimentary clothing and accessories from her high-end collection. However, such requests were against palace regulations. That was the start of a greater issue for Meghan and Victoria in the future. Years before, when Meghan was a little-known actress in Canada, she created the popular lifestyle website, The Tig. She received complimentary goods from upscale companies like Hermes in return for advertising their handbags on her website, which was one of the perks she received from The Tig. Even though Meghan was an apparent celebrity chaser, she had trouble getting favors and notoriety. But once she joined the royal family, high-end companies like Victoria, who is a fashionista, were expected to fight for her endorsement. Victoria was losing millions of pounds at that point in her career in 2017. She would not want to irritate the palace because it was typically not permitted to give valuable clothes out for free. There was tension between the two ladies, yet there were plenty of opportunities for Meghan and Victoria to get along in the 10 months prior to the Sydney snub. Both women were driven, engaged professionals who, crucially, had achieved success on their own. Meghan, a 37-year-old fashion enthusiast, ought to have found 44-year-old Victoria's daring attempts to create a brand and a company fascinating. In Oxfordshire, not far from the Soho farmhouse retreat, they were also neighbors. Harry hired a barn that had been renovated while the Beckhams purchased a home. They appeared to have a lot in common given their status as celebrities. But even though Meghan had already put on airs, the Observer saw that Harry and David did occasionally get together on the weekends. She felt little in common with a girl from Essex as a passionate Californian. She made the mistake of failing to understand the benefit of collaborating with an internationally adored pair. Meghan had no compassion for Britain even before she met Harry, and once she moved there, she made little effort to bridge the cultural gap. A lady who was eager to keep her previous demons well buried and was already making plans to return to the California sunshine found Victoria's self-mocking English humor to be absurd. David's connection with Prince William was another irritant. The Sussexes were already grumbling about their unequal position and riches with the Cambridges, but since the World Cup bid in 2010, the two had developed a cordial friendship. Meghan seemed to reassure herself that she would be Victoria's superior as a future member of the royal family. But in the world of celebrities, when everything is about money, lifestyle, and flaunting, the Beckhams had much more private aircraft, boat invitations, and wealth than the future Duchess had. However, Victoria's clothes sales were at that point not excellent, and she was eager to advertise her designs in the aftermath of the snubs in Sydney, when ties between the Sussexes and Beckhams rapidly plummeted. Before Christmas in 2018, she consented to lend Meghan a navy coat. On Christmas Day, the Duchess wore it as she walked with the royal family to Sandringham in Norfolk for church. Victoria was disappointed that it had little impact on sales. The Sussexes' discontent grew in 2019, and while the Cambridges and Sussexes engaged in furious accusations and disputes leading up to the Sussexes' transfer to California in January 2020, the Beckhams decided not to take sides. However, Victoria created a white cloak and outfit, especially for Meghan, who was then pregnant, for her final appearance at Westminster Abbey in March 2020. At that point, Meghan's standing was deteriorating. Unsurprisingly, her support for Victoria's label did not result in more sales. The sole saving grace for Victoria was a $1,400 purse used by Meghan that sold out after being mentioned in an Instagram video. But there weren't many bags. The royalist Beckhams resolutely avoided the exiles in Montecito during the course of the following year, while the Sussexes poisoned their own reputation in the Oprah Winfrey interview, the Netflix series, and Harry's impending novel. Finally, David Beckham issued a crushing retort in December 2022. He traveled 6,600 miles from Qatar to Boston in the middle of the World Cup to support Kate and William as they celebrated winning the Earthshot Award. President Biden was also present, much to the Cambridges' joy, and he praised the couple's charitable activities. Harry and Meghan were in New York on that very day. They had been preparing a publicity-seeking trip for months to promote their own charitable endeavors. To their dismay, the Sussexes' trip to New York was overshadowed in American and international media by David's kiss on Kate's cheek. Even worse, Kate was captivating American audiences. The British couple has unquestionably prevailed in this situation. When playing for Beckham's club in Miami 2 weeks ago, the legendary Argentinian player, Lionel Messi, scored an incredible last-second goal. Around the world, cries of delight could be heard. Hours of festivities were spent by the Beckhams. At the gathering, golden balls held the hands of several well-known celebrities. The Sussexes were one prominently absent pair. Brand Sussex, unlike Brand Beckham, is crumbling, which is a horrible fact that Meghan and Harry choose to overlook. Instead of pushing Victoria away, Meghan would have fared far better if she had followed her lead. What stands out to me about this story is how respectful and informed Victoria Beckham was about the palace's rules prohibiting royal family members from accepting gifts from designers, and how uncaring Meghan Markle was. Meghan's lies and manipulations caused Prick Harry to completely destroy a friendship with the Beckhams. The original story of Victoria and Meghan reared its ugly head again very recently. People are saying that Rachel is reviving old puff pieces because she doesn't have much else. I bet David and Victoria thought, well, here she goes again trying to get PR off our backs and make us look bad. Again, so they let loose. There was also an article comparing the two couples recently that was pro-Beckham. Finally, someone is giving it right back at her. Meghan probably leaked herself and then had Harry accuse the Beckhams because A, she was trying to break Harry's relationship with them and wanted him to see them in a bad light, B, she was trying to cover her tracks as a leaker, and C, she was trying to get sympathy from Harry. She's such a poor woman who everyone is leaking stories about, papping, stalking, and trolling. Meghan is always the leaker. If the hairdresser or makeup artist leaked, it was at Meghan's behest. Meghan is always the one who calls the paps. She's beyond transparent, and the trail of tacky clues always leads back to Meghan. She's still got that pathetic hanger-on mentality because she never had the class and self-possessed grace of an A-lister, and never will. She's a groupie, not a star. She's never been able to see how lucky she was to get where she got. And all because the British royal family had a very damaged weak link who was fooled by her. Now both of them are on the outside, and they'll never get back in. And good riddance to them both. Harry ruined his entire life over this horribly cheap, tacky groupie. What an embarrassment he is. There's a reason why Hank's wife isn't a brand ambassador for any notable luxury brands. It's because her supporters are either bots or vapid teenage girls with limited disposable income. They're not buying Max Mara coats, De La Renta dresses, or Dior gowns. They might buy the inverted nipple prom dress. Moreover, Hank's wife isn't convincing when she tries to sell the luxury image because she sucks. It's also a warning to other brands who may have entertained the notion of hiring her. She is a brand killer. Nothing she wears, endorses, sells, because she sucks. I remember reading somewhere that Meghan celebrated Thanksgiving 2017, or 2016, in a borrowed mansion in Hollywood, with her father and mother as her only guests. It was said that the mansion belonged to a friend of Harry, but the friend wasn't identified. Thomas Markle also confirmed in an interview with Pidina that Meghan had invited him and Doria to a posh Thanksgiving dinner at some mansion she was borrowing that belonged to Harry's friend. Now it's entirely possible that Meghan the Moocher used the Beckhams' mansion as if it were her own, going so far as to invite guests, her parents, and cosplay the part of a millionaire hostess, swanning around at her Thanksgiving dinner celebration. Why couldn't she rent a place in Los Angeles if she didn't want to stay with her dad or Doria because she feared the paps? Why was she so shameless that she had to get Harry to borrow the Beckhams' mansion? I can't believe the nerve of this fucking couple. The Harkles behave like they're 19th century royalty, Prinny, who expected aristocrats to loan them homes, give them jewelry, paintings, etc., if they happen to develop a liking for it. All of their decisions are short-sighted. We know Meghan doesn't like to share the spotlight with anyone, but does give some insight into how she was thinking about their status. I'm sure their popularity was at its highest, and they thought they were going to be bigger than Jesus and the Beatles. Little did they know that they were going to become less popular than herpes. So is anyone out there who is willing to put Meghan in her place? Even the most successful people know their public conduct and don't dare to cross the lines unless, of course, they are backed politically and fear no one. How does she have the guts to walk over so many people with little to no public shame, humiliation? I've noticed that extreme narcs get away with outrageous behavior because it's so appalling. Their victims are too gobsmacked to respond. It's like it's so disturbing they just want to forget it, or they rationalize it away. And if they tell other people what the narc did, they might not be believed because the narc's behavior was quite literally unbelievable. Narcs know all of this and take advantage of it. It can last a long time since they go through people very quickly, change circles of friends, badmouth others into mutual friends, and cause chaos. It can take a while to figure out. Madam's problem was the very global stage she sought. It made the notes on her come together quickly and hastened the revelation of her true self. I have been sitting ringside at a few narc shows, one going on as long as I've been alive, only now are the narcs getting found out. The behavior was so outrageous it was unbelievable. But it would be public shame/humiliation for me or you. But it isn't for Meghan. If anything, she just gets defiant and angry. For example, in response to the fallout from the car chase that never was, she expressed shock that she wasn't wholly and fully believed. She wasn't humiliated or shamed into silence. She was outraged that she was being treated so poorly. She wasn't wrong. We were wrong by not just believing her when there was all evidence to the contrary. This is how her mind works. It is always someone else's fault. If you asked her, she never has any culpability for anything. Think back and consider just her recent reasons for why they are failing. COVID. Poor timing on the part of two elderly people dying strikes no culpability anywhere in that list. 0, none, nada. It's hard to fathom because we have regular emotions and a conscience. Meghan doesn't. One commenter, I think the Harkles received quite a bit of humiliation when Bill Simmons called them con artists. And it was quite humiliating for the Harkles when Dior refused to sign a deal with them. And it was humiliating for the judge to call Harry a liar by not only not believing his allegation of a secret deal, but also pointing out that his version of things was inconsistent. The Harkles' problem isn't a lack of humiliation, but rather, in their warped minds, they see it as free publicity. In other words, there are people who talk about them. Even if it is bad, they see it as something positive because then they get attention. They feel that people envy them, and that's why they say those things against them. They are very strange people. When she is finally finished, more and more will come out. It is brave of the Beckhams because Victoria still has a brand to care about. And sugars attack anyone who criticizes their goddess, and there are still a few sugary journalists out there, but not many are left now. There are still people like Oprah, Gayle King, etc., who could help Meghan mount a vendetta, but their inclination to stick their necks out for Meghan is much lower now, and I don't think they would. Also, the Beckhams would want to be sure William and the rest of the royal family are not going to hold it against them to speak out about Harry. As more people feel safe to speak out, it gets easier for others to lift their heads about the parapet. It is a sign that no one in celebrity circles thinks she has any hope of a comeback. Years from now, there ought to be a British royal family primer on how not to behave. It would be like a children's primer. It would be almost all about when Meghan met Harry, and together they made life unpleasant for others. There could be chapters based on geography. A is for Australia. Insisting that the Governor-General and his wife vacate their mansion so you occupy the entire dwelling is bad form. B is for banana bread. If you imply that you baked this, then it had better be only you toiling in the kitchen. Incidentally, good banana bread doesn't need extraneous ingredients like ginger and chocolate chips. C is for Commonwealth. Upset the Aussies, etc., and they might find becoming an independent republic to be far better than suffering badly behaving royals on tour. T is for tea. Do not throw hot tea on staff. D is for Dumbarton, a real place with real people and an honorable title. If you are granted a title, accept it with gratitude. Don't throw it back in the monarch's face. E is for England, your new home and your new culture. If you had taken the time to learn about them, you wouldn't have made so many foolish mistakes. F is for Frogmore Cottage, a free home and one that was good enough for William and Catherine before you. Show a little appreciation for all you have been given. What do you think about the Beckhams and Harry and Meghan's rift? Let us know your thoughts below in the comments section. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this newsletter. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.